Hello, welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. As you can see, I'm on my laptop today, so I hope the sound quality is okay. Do let me know in the comments. If I can, I'll do something about it. Now, we tend to save up puzzles for when we're on our laptops, because we don't know where we'll be and we don't know what the upload speed will be. So laptop puzzles, if you do recognise from the picture when you start watching the video that we're on a laptop, they ought to be slightly easier than the monstrous puzzles we sometimes cover. So bear that in mind if you sort of pick and choose which ones you attempt and which ones you watch the video for. Today's puzzle is by Prasanna Seshadri, who should need no introduction if you're a fan of the channel. Prasanna is obviously one of the world's great constructors of Sudokus, and luckily enough he has picked probably my favourite type of Sudoku variant, which is the partial killer Sudoku. So I am really looking forward to trying this. The testing reports say this is a stunning puzzle and not too difficult, so we should be in for a treat. How do we... In fact, I'm just looking at the webcam footage today. It does look like I've been up all night brushing my hair. I can assure you that is not the case. How do the rules of Little Killer Sudoku work? Well, very simply. Let's pick a cage. This is a cage. The number in the top left-hand corner is 18, so the yellow cells need to sum to 18 without repeating a digit. That's the only remotely complicated part of the rules. Apart from that is normal Sudoku. So do have a go. As usual, to play the puzzle, you click on the link under the video, and with that, I get to have a go. Let's get cracking. So we can start here, I think. Three cells that add up to 6. There is only one way to do that. That's got to be 1, 2, plus 3. And interestingly, no other cage, in fact, has a simple number set that we can just sort of write in the options for. So okay, but 18 has suddenly become restricted, hasn't it? Because these 3 squares now can't be 1, 2 and 3, so the minimum they can be is 4, 5 and 6. Now our 4, 5 and 6 add to 15, which means these 2 squares here have got to add up to 3 without repeating a digit. They've got to be 1 and 2, which is okay, so that's interesting as well, isn't it? Look at that. So we've now got we've got a 1, 2, 3 triple here in row 2 and column 2, and I'm just looking at this. There's something quite interesting about this triple, because this cell in the triple can't include a 3, so we know that there must be a 3 in one of those 2 cells, and this cell in this triple can't include a 3, so we know there must be a 3 in one of those 2 cells as well. Well, the only cell that sort of matches up those criteria is that one, so I think that's a bizarre restriction. It seems rather strange, but I think it's true to say by logic this square has to be a 3. One, 2, 3. So presumably that these 2 cells in the 11 cage become... They've got to be... Yeah, there's a few things going on here, isn't there? So these 2 squares now can't be 1, 2 and 3. So the minimum they could be would be 4 and 5, which would make this square a 2. And the maximums they could be would be 4 and 6, which would make this square a 1. So there's always a 4 in one of these squares, so there is not a 4 there. So there is a 4 in one of these squares by Sudoku. And now look, so now we've got a 4, 5, 6 triple and a 1, 2, 3 triple down column 2, so these squares have got to be 7, 8, 9. Oh, lovely, lovely. Look at this. So what's the minimum value of those 2 squares now? Well, it's 7 plus 8, which is already 15. So the maximum value of those 3 squares is 8. Now, I know something about 8 in 3 cells, and the thing I know is that it has to contain a 1. So we now know that however these 3 squares are made up, there is definitely a 1 in them somewhere. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because of this square. This square sees all 3 of these squares. So if we were to try and put a 1 in this square, we break the 23 cage. So we mustn't put a 1 in this square. This square's got to be a 2. This square's a 1. This square's a 2. This square's a 2. And this square is a 1. We can continue the logic, can't we? Because now these cells can't contain a 2. So the minimum value these 3 squares have now is if I put 1, 3 and 4 into the cells. And if I put 1, 3 and 4 into the cells, that adds up to the maximum we can make them, which is 8. So these 2 squares do have to add up to 15. This square is a 9. What a lovely, lovely beginning. This is one of the things I love about these killer Sudokus where the partial cages are used. Constructors now are using the geometry so stunningly. Now we know one of those 2 squares is a 4 from the pencil marking, so there's a 4 now here. This is a 1, 3 pair. This is a 4 by Sudoku, therefore. This is obviously a 5 because of the box set needing to add to 11. That makes that one a 6. It's got to be a 5 in one of these 3 squares. And a 3 in one of these 3 squares. So these squares here are a 3, 4, 5 triple. So let me have a stare at this for a second. So there's got to be a 6 in one of those cells, which means there's got to be a 6 in one of these cells. 7, 8, 9. Okay, so look. Oh yeah, in fact, look along row 8 now. So I think what we've got here, I mean, it's a beautiful setting. We've started in this box, we've moved down to this box through the geometry. Now I think we have to do exactly the same trick, look, in this bottom right hand corner. These 2 squares, well, we know a 9 cage in 3 cells. The maximum digit you can put in it is a 6. Now, if we look along here, we can't make these 2 squares a 1, 3 pair because that will break this square, and we can't put 2, 4 or 5 into these squares. So what numbers shall we put in? One of the digits will have to be a 6. Now once we know there's a 6 in the 9 cage, we know the composition of the 9 cage has to be 1, 2 and 6, therefore this square is a 2. These squares have to be 1 and 6. This square therefore has to be a 3. This is a 1. These squares are 7, 8 and 9 now in row 8 of the grid. There's a 1 down here somewhere. Again, look, we've got the same trick here. If this is 7 and 8, even if this is 7 and 8, which is the minimum I can make it, I am still forced to put a 1 into one of those squares because they're going to add up to 8 as a maximum. Given the 1 we know is in one of those 2 squares, the 1 gets shunted up there, which fixes the 1 and the 6 here. These 2 squares now, they have to be 3 and 4 because we have to make sure these don't break the 8 total. Therefore we know that they're 7 and 8, we know the 9 goes here. 1 must live in one of those 2 cells. Oops. I'm having trouble hitting the control key on my laptop. That's it. Now something a little bit interesting I've just noticed there. Look, 1, 2, still having trouble hitting it. These 1, 2 pairs rule out 1 and 2 from that 17 cage. Now that is suspicious. I'm not sure what that's telling me, but it's suspicious. No, I'm not quite understanding the communication between this bottom right box, this top left box, and the top right box yet. 1's got to go in one of those 3 cells, just by Sudoku. And 9. Oh, yeah, this is important. Look, 9 can't go in this central cross. And 1 does go in the central cross, so the other 4 cells have to add to 26 without using 9. There is only one way to do that, and that is with 8, 7, 6 and 5. So actually, we know the composition of the central cross now. And yeah, this is beautiful. So now look, we've got a 2-4 pair here. So these two squares, the only places they can go in the central square, these have to be 2 and 4. These have to be 3 and 9. And this can't be a 3. This can't be a 3, because if it is, I need one of these two cells to be a 9, because these two would have to add up to 16, so they're going to have to be 7 and 9. Well, that can't be a 9, there's a 9 there. And that definitely can't be a 9, because we've got a 3-9 pair in the column already. So this one has to be the 9, that's the only possibility. So there's a 9 in one of those two cells by Sudoku. This is not equal to 3. Now, I'm just wondering about these two squares. These have to add up to 10. Yeah, okay, this is helpful. These have to add up to 10, but we've already got 2, 3 and 4 ruled out from this square, and 3 and 4 ruled out from this square. And 1, 9 is impossible here, and 4, 6 is impossible there. So given we can't put a 3 in either of those squares, we have to be looking at 2 and 8. That's the only possibility, and this one can't be a 2. So this is a 2, this is an 8. This is not 8, therefore. The 2 fixes the 2 and the 4. That is massive. So we get 2, 4 fixed. Yeah, there's all sorts going on now. Let's just tidy up some pencil marking so we can stare at this with full information. Yeah, what I noticed was this 2 in the 18 cage. Now these two squares have got to add up to 16, so they've got to be 7 and 9, but the 9 here tells us this one has to be 7. This is 9, therefore. 9 must live in one of those two cells. The 7 here, look, fixes the 7 and the 8. Oh, 7, 8. This isn't 8 anymore. 7 here fixes this 7, 8 as well. 7, 8. So this is not 7. These two squares have got to be... They're a 6, 8 pair, aren't they? So this square, which is part of the 16 cage, these need to add up to 13. If this is a 6 or an 8, this has to be a 5 or a... Oh. Oh. No, this can't be a 6, can it? Because that would put a 7 here. So this has to be 8, 5 now. This is not 5. This must be 6. No 6 is in the centre. Now, where does 8 go? In the top box now. This 8 and this 8 pin it. They force it into the corner. These two squares have got to be a 7, 9 pair. There must... that's not quite useful. There must be a 7 in one of those two cells. Okay. So we've used... It's got to be an 8 in one of these three squares. There's got to be a 9 in one of these three squares. It's got to be an... Oh, look. Where does 9 go? 9 can't go here because that will break the 13 cage. 9's got to be in one of those two cells. These two squares have got to add up to 9. 2, 9 here. I'm a bit stuck here. 1 second. That can't be an 8 though. 4, 5 and 6 into this square. This column needs a 1, 6 and a 7. That's also looking unhelpful. Maybe I need to... I've used this box, I've used this box, I've used this box. So maybe there's something in this box that I need to spot. So we know that the 1, 2 don't live in the 17 cage. Oh, I've spotted what it is. Yes, this is a devious little trick. Look at this, the 9. Can the 9 be here? Can it not be in the 17 cage? Now, if this is a 9, look what it does. This square has to be a 9, and this square has to be a 9, simply unwinding the Sudoku. And ordinarily we might say, well, that's fine. These 9s are not in the same rows. That looks perfect. Well, it would be, except these two 9s are in the 27 cage, and you can't repeat a digit in a cage. So this is most certainly not a 9, which means the 9 is in the 17 cage. And the 17 cage doesn't, the 17 cage doesn't have a 1 and a 2 in it. So we know the composition now. This has got to be 9 plus 8 more, which don't include a 1 and a 2. So it's got to be 3, 5 and 9. It definitely doesn't include an 8 therefore. So this is an 8. This is 3, 5, 9. The 3 over that side plonks the 3 in the top there. This becomes a 5, 9. Oh, this 3 does all sorts. Look, 3, 4 there. 3's into one of these squares. 5, 9 here means this is a 4. This is a 5. 5's got to live in one of those two cells. This can't be a 9 anymore, so the 9 must go here, which fixes that 5. 5 can't go in any of those squares. You can see that's going to give us a 6 in the grid. This is not 6 anymore. There's so many things. I think there's an awful lot of information we've just got there that I'm going to struggle to unwind efficiently because there's just so much of it. 6, 1, 7. 7 there. So 7 here, therefore. 1, 6 pair in column 4 now. This square's got to be a 7. That's an 8. That's a 1. That's a 5. This is not 1 anymore. Okay, so yeah, look at this 6. This 6 is plonking the 6 into one of the same positions that the 1 is locked into in box 8. So we actually get a 1, 6 pair. That 1, 6 pair shifts the 6 in this box up to the top. The 7 here shifts the 7 down there. This square's therefore got to be a 9. 9 must live here. We know the value of this square now. It's got to be a 2. And we know the value of this square, which has got to be a 3, I think. That's looking like it's working. 3 must be here. That's beautiful. It's going to fix our 13 cage. We now need a 6 there. This square can't be a 5 by Sudoku. 1, 6 here. So what do we need? We need 5 and 8 in this box in the corner. Now, we've got an 8 at the top, so we do know the arrangement of that. 8, 5 gets fixed. This must be an 8. We haven't really used this 27 cage except for the trick with the 9s, have we? So let's just try and tidy this up with alacrity. These two squares maybe. One of them's got to be a 4, one of them's got to be a 7. Yeah, we can do that. 4, 7. One of these two squares has got to be a 7. One of these two squares has got to be a 4. Still struggling with my control key. This square's got to be a 2 or a 4. This square's got to be a 1 or a 2. This square's got to be a 1 or a 4. This square's got to be 2, 3 or 4. Yeah, okay, look. This box now we need to put 1 and 6 into. That's the one on the left hand side tells us the order. That's going to fix everything, isn't it? I hope. Anyway, now that's a 2, that's a 7, just unwinding pencil marks. This square can't be a 2 anymore. That square in the corner, we know that's got to be a 6. That looks like it's working. What a beautiful puzzle. And now we can use this 27 cage to give us the value of this square. In fact, I'm going to do that just because it's going to be pleasing to me. This square's got to be a 5. That is lovely. So that fixes the 5 and the 9, the 4, the 3, 5 over here, the 3, the 3, the 4. And if I haven't made an error, that should be 7. This should be a 1. This should be a 6. And check. Does that say it's good? I can't see. Yes, it does. What a brilliant puzzle. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. That was absolutely, I mean, these partial killers, when they're done as well as that, they are such satisfying puzzles. Absolutely loved it, Prasanna. And we'll be back later on with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.